I don't question the validity of any of your suggestions, what you're running on. I'm wondering, we have a Republican governor, we have a Republican House, we have a Republican Senate. And my thought is, if you have such good ideas, why isn't something being done now about the problems? What are y'all doing now while you're in office, not running for office? And when a state is trying to get a company to come in and build in that state or bring a business to the state, they offer incentives, which is only natural, and I'm for that. My question is, for all of you, why don't you do something for the businesses that are already in existence? Why aren't there some incentives for them to hire people instead of laying people off?
We passed the Jobs Act this past year. Is it better? We passed the Jobs Act this past year that was essentially going to give tax credits and other rates to anybody who expanded their employment numbers in this state, and it was vetoed. That was a choice by the current governor. It was something that I voted for. I think probably Senator Johnson voted for it as well. I think it was a good piece of legislation. The thing I'll tell you with regard to maybe the initial statement of why, for those of us who are in office, haven't we done more? Is that a fair?
How can we expect you to get something done if you're elected governor, if you're not getting it done now while we're run by a Republican, and I am a conservative Republican,
right?
And we're both Republicans, and I wonder, are we just like Washington was when the Republicans were in the majority there and just sat on their backsides and did that?
The governor in this state has a tremendous amount of influence, much more influence than the entire legislative body combined, is what I will tell you. And we have one of the most powerful governor's offices in the country. Now, whether or not that's good or bad, that governor's office is powerful, that's the fact. What I will tell you is this. I honestly believe that special interest, organized money, if you will, has had too much to do with the way we govern the state in the last few years. And I said, a few minutes ago that, I believe that we look more like the party that I worked to replace than we do what we look like as Republicans when we were working to take over the state. What I'll tell you is this. I intend to publish what's called a tax expenditure budget. We're one of 9 states in the country that doesn't publish such a budget. It will show you where every special interest tax cut is in the tax code. And once we expose that, I think there will be a tremendous amount of pressure to reverse those things that are tax cuts that are not helping grow the economy. And we need to take that money that is generated and apply it to other tax cuts, like the reduction of the capital gains tax and the reduction of the corporate income tax, that will create jobs in this state.
Let me answer that question. I'm obviously the only one of the 7 Republicans who's not already an elected official, but I am a small business owner. And I can tell you that as someone who believes in limited government, who's a constitutionalist, and who is a strong fiscal conservative, I understand that there are some things that I can do as your next governor that will help the exact situation that you're asking about. And it actually doesn't involve the government doing anything, because in all honesty, the government isn't, the governor nor the government is supposed to do anything to stimulate the economy. What I can do as your governor is to get government out of the way so that you can find your own prosperity, because I think that Georgians are ingenious enough and industrious enough that if I will do my job and stand there as a barrier and get government out of your way in 4 specific ways, I think that I can improve the business situation here in Georgia for your job and your economy. One of those is what I already mentioned. If we get rid of the property tax and the state income tax, not only will people here at home in Georgia have more capital to invest in starting local businesses, but there will be folks wanting to move here to do it. Number 2, in the area of education, we have misled an entire generation of Georgians into thinking that in order for them to be successful, they have to go get a 4-year liberal arts degree somewhere. We need to start encouraging our young people that have God-given talents and abilities and interest in vocational areas to vocational schools. We need to reemphasize our vocational schools that have been lying dormant and basically unused for almost a generation here in Georgia. That will provide a skilled labor force here in Georgia that will make people want to come back here. Almost all the textile mills in South Georgia have died over the last 10 years. But that's what's happening all across America. But if we have a positive taxing climate and a trained, skilled workforce, people will be wanting to come to Georgia to set up those textile mills again. The third thing is that we need to take control of our own natural resources again. There are a lot of people who would be willing to invest their own capital to extricate the natural resources from this state using good stewardship, but there are so many federal rules and regulations telling us what we can and can't do with our own natural resources before it ever even leaves the state boundaries. The Constitution very clearly lays out the authority of the federal government. It may include interstate commerce, but it does not include intrastate commerce. One of the bills that our campaign in the governor's race has proposed that's going to be introduced in the Georgia General Assembly in January, and already has sponsorship for it in the House, is called the State Authority and Intrastate Commerce Act. We have 10 different sovereignty bills that are going to be introduced. This is just one of them. It will state that anything that is manufactured, produced, excavated, or grown in this state, not just firearms like Montana said, but anything, as long as it stays within the boundaries of the sovereign state of Georgia, the federal government has no authority to rule or regulate it. And any federal agent that comes down here and attempts to interfere in that process and violates the rights of Georgia citizens to practice intrastate commerce, that federal agent is going to be under penalties, including felony counts. And so that's a real solution. That's a constitutional solution. And if we do all those things, it'll create an environment where business will flourish in Georgia like we've not seen for the last 50 years in Georgia's history.